Have you ever had one of those days where it feels like your house is just a never-ending echo chamber of, "Stop that! How many times do I have to tell you?" Or, "Why don't you ever listen?" And before you even realize it, your voice is rising, your patience is dropping, and you're left feeling exhausted, guilty, and honestly, just a little defeated. You're not alone. Every parent has been there. We all start the day with good intentions. We want to be patient, kind, firm, but loving. But somewhere between spilled cereal, sibling fights, and unfinished homework, things get loud. And deep down, we know that yelling doesn't feel good. Not for us, and definitely not for our kids. But here's the truth. You're not a bad parent for losing your cool sometimes. You're human. You care deeply. And that's exactly why you're here, searching for a better way. A way to discipline that still teaches, still sets boundaries, but doesn't leave anyone in tears or emotionally drained. So today, we're going to talk about just that. 6 powerful ways to discipline your child without raising your voice. Not fluffy theories, but practical, real-life strategies you can actually use, starting today. Let's talk about what it means to discipline, because sometimes that word gets a bad rap. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's about teaching, guiding our children toward becoming respectful, kind, emotionally intelligent human beings. And that's exactly what these strategies are designed to do. Let's start with something simple, but incredibly powerful. Connection before correction. I know it sounds almost too soft, right? Like, what? I'm supposed to connect while they're throwing a tantrum over screen time? But hear me out. Kids, just like us, respond better when they feel seen, heard, and safe. When a child is acting out, it's usually because they're feeling disconnected, overwhelmed, or simply craving attention in the only way they know how. So the next time your child is acting up, take a pause, take a breath, get down to their level, literally. Look them in the eye, touch their shoulder, say their name gently, and then speak. That moment of calm connection resets the tone entirely. It lets them know you're not just about to bark orders. You're there to help them regulate and understand what's happening inside them. And when they feel connected, they're far more likely to cooperate. You'd be surprised how many meltdowns can be diffused just by offering a moment of empathy first, before jumping into instructions or consequences. Try something like, "I can see you're really upset right now. I'm here with you. Let's figure this out together." That pause doesn't mean you're giving in. It means you're creating a space where your child can actually hear you instead of just reacting to your tone. Now, let's talk about another powerful strategy: the power of calm presence. Have you ever noticed how energy spreads in a room? When one person is anxious, everyone tenses up. But when someone stays calm, it naturally brings the temperature down, even in chaos. And in a home, that person is usually you. Kids are emotional sponges. They feed off your energy, your tone, your expressions. So when you come in hot, they mirror that heat. But when you keep your body language relaxed, your voice low, your face soft, even while you're setting a boundary, it changes everything. Instead of yelling, try lowering your voice. Speak slowly. Even whisper if you want to try something fun and surprisingly effective. Kids are naturally curious. If you're whispering, they lean in. It's the opposite of yelling, and yet it captures attention so much more powerfully. Let me give you an example. Say your child is refusing to clean up their toys. Instead of yelling from across the room, walk over, kneel beside them, and say quietly, "I see you don't feel like cleaning up right now. But these toys need to be picked up before we move on to anything else. Let's do it together, or you can do it on your own. You choose. It's firm, it's clear, and it's calm. That energy shifts everything. It's not about suppressing your frustration. It's about modeling what self-regulation looks like. You're not just telling your child how to behave, you're showing them. You're teaching through presence, not pressure. And believe me, this takes practice. Some days you'll nail it, other days you'll snap. But the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you're wiring your child's brain for emotional safety and trust. That's huge. Now, let's touch on a third method that often goes overlooked, but is incredibly effective. Setting expectations in advance. So many power struggles and shouting matches happen because we assume our kids should know what to do. But honestly, they don't. They're still learning. And just like we feel better when we know what's coming, kids do too. So before transitions, like leaving the park, turning off the TV, or getting ready for bed, try previewing what's coming. Give them a heads up. In 5 minutes, we're going to clean up and get ready for dinner. I'll let you know when it's time. Then, follow through gently but firmly when the time comes. And don't just state the expectation, involve them in it. Let them choose the timer sound. Ask them what they'd like to do after the transition. Give them a sense of control within the structure you've set. That feeling of predictability and autonomy reduces resistance in a big way. Transitions are one of the most common triggers for yelling, but they don't have to be. When you give clear cues, consistent follow-through, and a little choice, you reduce the tension that usually leads to raised voices. These first few strategies might sound simple on the surface, but they're incredibly transformative when you actually start using them. Because at the heart of all this is one powerful truth. Your calm is their calm. Your tone becomes their teacher, and your energy becomes their guide. Now, once we start practicing those first steps, staying calm ourselves and setting consistent boundaries, we can already feel a shift in the way we interact with our kids. But let's take it one step deeper, because here's the truth. Our connection with our children is the foundation of all discipline. When we focus more on building a strong relationship than just enforcing rules, something beautiful happens. Our children start to cooperate not out of fear, but out of respect and love. And that leads us to something truly powerful: positive reinforcement. Now, I know some people hear that term and immediately think of stickers and gold stars, but it's so much more than that. It's about noticing what's going right and letting your child know you see it. You'd be surprised how much a simple sentence like, "I really appreciate how you cleaned up your toys without being asked," can mean to a child. Those little acknowledgments, they fuel a child's sense of belonging and competence, and they naturally want to keep doing well, not because they're afraid of being yelled at, but because they feel proud of themselves. And let's be honest, don't we all respond better to encouragement than criticism? Think about how you feel when someone tells you, "You did a great job handling that situation." It lifts you up, right? It makes you want to keep showing up as your best self. Kids are no different. The more we focus on what they're doing, right, the more they'll want to keep doing it. It's not about ignoring the misbehavior, it's about balancing the scale. Because sometimes we get so caught up in correcting what's wrong that we forget to celebrate what's right. Here's an example. Let's say your child usually leaves their shoes scattered around the house, but today, they actually put them in the shoe rack without being reminded. Instead of letting that moment pass unnoticed, you could say, "Wow, you put your shoes away. That was really responsible of you." It takes just a few seconds, but it plants a seed that says, "I'm seen. My effort matters." And over time, these moments add up. Your child begins to associate responsibility with a feeling of pride, not just punishment. That's the kind of discipline that lasts. It comes from within them, not from fear of your raised voice. Now let's talk about something that can feel really challenging in the moment: offering choices. You might be thinking, "My child already wants to be the boss of everything. Won't giving them choices just make it worse? But hear me out. When we offer our kids simple, age-appropriate choices, we're not handing over all control. We're actually guiding them within healthy boundaries while still honoring their need for autonomy. And it works wonders. Because sometimes misbehavior isn't about defiance. It's about a child trying to assert their independence. When we constantly make every decision for them, it can build frustration that eventually explodes, usually in the form of tantrums, whining, or you guessed it, those moments that make us want to yell. But when we say something like, "Do you want to brush your teeth first, or put on your pajamas first?" we're still getting to the end goal, but we're letting them feel like they're part of the process. And that sense of agency, even in small things, makes a big difference. It's not about letting them do whatever they want. It's about offering guided independence. And yes, there will still be resistance at times. That's normal. But when your child feels that their voice matters, they're more likely to respond with cooperation rather than pushback. Another thing that helps in those tricky moments is using natural consequences instead of threats. I know, sometimes it's so tempting to say, "If you don't clean up your toys, I'm throwing them all away." But let's be honest, that's not really a consequence, it's a punishment. And most of the time, we don't even follow through, which just teaches our kids that our words aren't serious. Natural consequences, on the other hand, are powerful because they teach responsibility through experience, not fear. If your child refuses to put on their coat when it's cold outside, maybe they go out for a few minutes and feel chilly. That discomfort teaches more than any lecture ever could. Or maybe they leave their homework at home and face the result at school. It's not easy to let our kids face those consequences, especially when we want to protect them. But learning through experience, while still having our emotional support, builds resilience and responsibility far more effectively than yelling ever will. And when we talk to our kids about those consequences calmly, with empathy, it deepens the lesson. I know it was hard to be cold without your jacket today. Next time, what can we do to make sure you remember it before we leave? See, there's no shame, just understanding and growth. That's how we help our children become thoughtful, responsible individuals, not just obedient kids who follow orders. And that brings me to something that might be the most important of all: modeling the behavior we want to see. Our kids are watching us more than they're listening to us. They absorb how we handle stress, how we talk to others, how we respond when things don't go our way. If we want them to speak calmly, manage emotions, and problem solve instead of yelling or melting down, we have to show them what that looks like. It doesn't mean being perfect. It means being real. And when we mess up, and we will, it means showing them how to own our mistakes and make things right. "I'm sorry I snapped earlier. I was feeling frustrated, and I should have taken a deep breath first. I'll try better next time." That kind of vulnerability doesn't make you weak in your child's eyes. It makes you trustworthy. It teaches them that it's okay to make mistakes, and that repair is part of every relationship. And slowly, as you model that self-regulation, that accountability, your children start picking it up too. Not instantly, and not without bumps. But you're planting the seeds of emotional intelligence, skills that will serve them for a lifetime. So even when it's hard, even when you feel like raising your voice is the only way to be heard, pause, breathe, come back to connection. Your voice is powerful, even when it's soft, especially when it's soft. Now, let's take a moment to reflect. Parenting is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up, learning, adjusting, and trying again, even after a tough day. Because truthfully, there will always be moments when we're tempted to yell. We're human. We get tired, overwhelmed, stressed. But every time you pause and choose a different response, every time you lower your voice instead of raising it, you're breaking cycles, creating new patterns, and giving your child a healthier model to follow. You're not just raising a child, you're raising a future adult. Someone who will one day manage relationships, handle conflict, deal with disappointment, and care for others. The way we respond to them now becomes their internal voice later. Do we want that voice to be harsh and critical? Or calm, loving, and understanding? That's the power you have as a parent. Not in how loud you can yell, but in how gently you can lead. So let's recap the 6 powerful strategies we've talked about today. Stay calm yourself, because you can't regulate your child's emotions if you're not regulating your own. Set clear, consistent boundaries, so your child knows what to expect and what's expected of them. Use positive reinforcement. Notice and praise the good, and you'll see more of it. Offer choices within limits. Let your child feel capable and included without losing structure. Use natural consequences, not threats. Let life be the teacher, while you remain the support. Model the behavior you want to see. Be the calm, kind, respectful person you want your child to become. None of these strategies require yelling. They require presence, intentionality, and a lot of patience. But the reward? It's huge. You'll see more cooperation, more trust, and a deeper bond with your child. And most importantly, you'll create a home where everyone feels safe, not scared, heard, not humiliated, loved, not lectured. And hey, if you've yelled before, don't beat yourself up. We've all been there. What matters most is what you do next. You're here. You're learning. That means you already care enough to change. And that's powerful. So, take these 6 steps, try them out one at a time, and watch how they shift the energy in your home. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen. With consistency, love, and a calm voice, you've got this. If this video helped you, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with another parent who might need this reminder, and subscribe for more parenting insights like this. And hey, if you've tried any of these methods before, tell us in the comments. What worked for you? What's still hard? Let's learn from each other, because parenting is never a solo journey. Thanks for watching, and remember, you don't need to yell to be heard. Your calm voice is your superpower. See you in the next video.